How's it going, everybody? Bryan, Alvarez, and Dave Meltzer here, Wrestling Observer Radio. It is June 8, 2019, figure4online.com/wrestlingobserver.com. Got a lot to get into in the first show, about 25 that we're going to be doing over the next several days. This one, unfortunately, covering the WWE Super Showdown.
Aren't you excited about this?
Oh, you're killing me here.
Oh,
dude.
My God.
On a Friday, I had to watch this show. It's just, I don't even know where to begin. The show sucked.
The show sucked? Oh, yeah. The show sucked on a lot of levels. Yeah, just all kinds of different ways. But, yeah.
I'll start here with the main event. So, Goldberg and Undertaker had this match.
We should start with women. The women's situation, just because the women in R-Truth got a nice flight. Nice long flight to R-Truth, I think, filmed like, what was it, 20 seconds of like Jinder Mahal had to pretend to be asleep and he had to pin him on the airplane.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so they did that. That's all he did. He didn't even work in the Battle Royal because, to their credit, they realized that putting him in the Battle Royal would make absolutely no sense because everyone would have to pin him and it would just be... So, they could have, like, thought of this earlier and he wouldn't have had to take this flight. But we did. And then the women, they flew there and they were hoping to wrestle. And the government, I don't understand, you know, but again, I'm not dealing with that government. So, I mean, I know they were told, they were told that it was going to be okay. And it was going back and forth. And they couldn't advertise it because if they advertised it and somehow there was a snag, they'd look really, really bad. So, for whatever reason, obviously they thought that they were going to get it done. Enough to fly Alexa Bliss and Natalya over there. And they flew them over there. And not only were they not allowed to wrestle, but they were not allowed to be on the show, say that they're going to someday be able to wrestle, anything. So, yeah, that was what happened there.
All right, let's go back to this Goldberg thing. So, Goldberg-Undertaker is the main event. It's the main event of the show, final match on the show. And they did not go 2 minutes. They went significantly longer. And practically the very first thing that happened is Goldberg goes for a spear. And just like in that Chronic match 20 years ago, he goes for a spear and he hits his head on the post. He knocks himself out and he's bleeding everywhere. And at that point, like, he's out of this match. And the Undertaker beats him up for a while and goes for the tombstone. And in like 100% of the incidents, don't listen to Hulk Hogan, in 100% of the cases, Undertaker protects his opponent and they do not land on their head. Well, Goldberg is KO'd. I don't know what he was thinking. He stuck his head out. He landed right on his goddamn head on this tombstone. Thought he was dead. So he's down. And they keep going. And Goldberg eventually makes a quick comeback. He goes for the jackhammer. And, like, he's not in great shape. Undertaker's not in great shape. It's 100 degrees out there. And he lifts the dude up and he brain busters him right onto his head. Almost kills the Undertaker. Undertaker's down. Goldberg stands up. He's waiting for the dude to get up, but Undertaker's landed right on his head. So they get up and they go for a spot, and they were supposed to do a reversal, and they both fall down on the mat. And Undertaker gets up, chokeslams the dude, pins him, and they get the hell out of there. These poor guys, this was a disaster.
It was bad. Well, once they had the knockout, it just fell apart, and that's just what happened. On the chokeslam, Goldberg barely got up, and then wasn't there another one? There was a tombstone attempt where they just both fell down.
Yes, right before they were going to do a reversal.
They looked like they were going to do a reversal, which is not an easy spot to do. And yeah, they just both fell down. The first, whatever it was, the first 2 minutes of this match or so were actually pretty well done. I was thinking, like, man, this is not bad. And Bill Goldberg showed up. My God, that guy looked in great shape. I mean, for his age, and he didn't get word about this. It's not like he got for when he first came back that 1 year, when he had, like, I don't know, he had a lot more time before, when he was told about that one before to get in shape as compared to this one. And then the whole run, he pretty much knew it's, whatever, it's October Mania. So, once you get there, you can stay in shape to a degree, although he had the bad shoulder the entire time, which made it tough. But, he looked good. I mean, he looked great, and the first couple of moves looked good, and then it fell apart. So that's what happened.
Goldberg was very upset afterwards. He explained to everybody they'd been knocked out, and he wants to redeem himself for this performance, and I'm sure the Undertaker does as well. And I don't know what they're going to do, but
Undertaker looked very unhappy.
Yeah.
Undertaker really. So there's a couple of thoughts on this. Number one, okay, as soon as this match was announced, I knew Undertaker was winning because, that's just how it is. And then when I watched the thing on Friday, on Tuesday, I should say, Friday, whatever. It's Friday today. When I watched the thing on Tuesday, it was like, Undertaker's done. And we know that. We've seen, his last couple of things. And Bill really, he looked good. He came off good. And as soon as I saw it, it's like, Bill has to, he's not going to win. I know he's going to lose.
If Bill was 20 years younger, he'd be the guy. That's how awesome he was on that SmackDown show. Yeah, he would undoubtedly have been the guy if he were 20 years younger.
Well, in this day and age, it'd be hard because he's not, in this day and age, you have to be able to wrestle and everything, and that would...
Well, he'd be 20 years younger.
Yeah, but he was never that good as a wrestler. He was good. He was good in limited roles. I mean, he was fantastic in limited roles. But today, you really, you can't have a guy go in there and do 2-minute, 3-minute pay-per-view main events month after month after month and be the guy. People would turn on him real quick. If you just, just the look and everything, sure, And also, here's the thing. Today, if this was today, these guys don't know how to protect anyone, which we'll get to in a second with Lars Sullivan, because actually, the booking of Undertaker and Bill was exactly what I expected. I don't want to say it's stupid. It was, but because as soon as I saw the skit and the way everything went down, and they actually got me interested, it was like, Undertaker's done. I mean, Bill's pretty much done too, but Bill's got something because he hasn't been around a lot, and the thing is you can do 3-minute Bill Goldberg matches and everyone's happy because that's all he ever did when he was younger. So there's no, why he had to do 8.5 minutes here, I have no earthly idea. If he'd done 3 minutes, even with the fact he was knocked out probably 2 minutes in, if they had done a 3-minute match, everybody would be going like, oh, the blood, this is just what a, they wouldn't say it was great. But it would be acceptable. When they kept going, because they're also both old and they're also both tired and they're also both knocked out, or one of them's knocked out. It was irresponsible of the company when Bill was clearly knocked out. And it was very clear watching his legs when he hit that post, even before the tombstone spot, that he was, they should stop the match. I know it's like the worst because it's like, you have protocol and everything when someone's knocked out. You do that, but it's like it's the main event on this pay-per-view. And Bill sure as hell didn't want to quit. He'd have freaked out over it because he's got that, Bill's got that mentality. It's like he wants to do it. But, that's what happened with Bryan Danielson in that match with Randy Orton, if you remember. And, Bryan nearly got in a fight with Triple H. A real fist fight with Triple H. That's how bad it was. But, in the end of the day, with the benefit of hindsight, and a lot of people were mad at Triple H for stopping this match that Daniel Bryan was going to win. And you know what I mean? But Triple H was 100% right in that situation. And Daniel Bryan didn't like it because if it was Triple H in the ring, he wouldn't have stopped it because the guy in the ring's never going to stop it. But it's kind of like, like everything they say about, concussions and everything like this, they needed to stop it, but they didn't. Okay. I get, it's a hard call to make in that situation, but it was the right call. It would have been the right call to just go in there and just go either tell them, okay, just beat him. Just beat him now. It's going to suck, But it's turned out it sucked worse because they kept going. But that's neither here nor there. But when I saw the thing on Tuesday, it was, again, like I said, it's like, you know what? I mean, there's not even a doubt in my mind that Bill has to win this match just because Undertaker's done, and there's still mileage in Bill. You know, when they first announced it, I didn't think that, but it's so clear on Tuesday. There's like real mileage in Bill, whether it's Bill against Lars Sullivan, which now I wouldn't say that because obviously that's ridiculous. It wasn't ridiculous 24 hours ago, but today it is. Right now it is. And, you know, or just whatever, you know, Bill against any heel, you know, that just, you can come in and he can be that guy coming out of retirement, you know, 2-3 times a year. Granted, I know he didn't draw a rating on Tuesday, but he still had it. You know, he really had it. This hurt him, of course, but that didn't happen either. And I guess, you know, I wasn't, believe me, I didn't think for one split second Vince was going to change that finish. But I also knew 100% that that was the right thing to do, that Bill should have won the match. And it's like amazing because we're in 2019, and the reason that Bill had to lose, and the reason that, you know, no matter what happened on Tuesday, if you look at the future and like who's got more mileage left, it's clearly Bill. Bill looks, you know, he looks younger. He talks younger. He, you know, just everything about it is because Bill Goldberg, and they even said it as soon as he comes out there and the announcers go, he was the face of WCW. He represents WCW. And it's just like, oh my God, he's getting pinned clean.
Fuck, he should have won then on this show.
Whatever. He should have won because he has more mileage left of the two. But
I'm just pointing out, if ever there was a WCW event, this was it.
Yeah, this was worse than most WCW events. I mean, like, I suppose like this was one though. No, really, like I'm getting kind of on the worried side. Maybe I'm a little late to the party on this one. I mean, I know. I've been watching. I know the booking's bad and everything, but I always go like, it's not WCW bad. It's not WCW bad. And it wasn't quite like the real bad WCW.
This is not as bad as Russo's second run, because I'm watching Russo's second run right now. But outside of Russo's second run, this is as bad as anything they ever did.
But I mean, I'm you know, look, okay, this is a bad, you know, it's a bad crowd and this and that and all that. But what I'm talking about is the actual booking.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the booking was scary bad tonight. You know, between the Brock Lesnar thing and the Lars Sullivan thing, I mean, it's like that's WCW bad. I mean, I honestly think the Lars Sullivan thing was. I don't want to say it's worse than Russo, but as soon as that was over, it's like, my God, I don't think Russo could have booked this bad. That's how bad it was.
Well, he could have beaten Lars.
He wouldn't have.
They could have hit him with a tequila bottle and he could have beaten him.
But they never did. They never did that. They never had 3 job guys beat Bill Goldberg. You know what I'm saying? If that's the equivalent. I mean, they may have, you know, they never even put the wig on.
Had 5
Goldberg.
straight guys beat Hulk Hogan, including Billy Kidman and The Wall.
Yeah, but that was a different level of incompetence. And that was, you know, it's still Hulk Hogan. They were trying to get people over. Hulk Hogan wanted to work with The Wall. He thought there was money in him because Hulk was still delusional about big guys. Billy Kidman thing was just a political thing because Hulk Hogan said something, so he wanted to prove. He wanted to prove that, you know, he was business. So he put the guy over in a manner which everyone knew was a joke. You know, because it wasn't like he put over Billy Kidman. I don't even want to get back into that era. But that's completely different. That wasn't. That was Hulk Hogan and his mentality at the time. This is something completely different. I mean, this just boggled my mind. But yeah, so the Goldberg match. So it ended up being a disaster, and Undertaker was pissed, and I'm sure Bill was real disappointed. I mean, he was mad enough to where he was. I think the thing that got him also is, I guess he must have seen enough of the social media. And I think it really bothered him that people gloated at it. You know what I mean? And you know, I mean, that's just because he hasn't been, you know, he knows about other criticism, but I think the idea is I got knocked out. I had a shitty match, and it's like, okay, you know, I did. It sucked, you know, but now people are like happy about it. And it's like, I think that is, you know, it's like, that's really kind of bad. So that's, you know, but that's just the real world too, unfortunately. But,
well, listen, let's start at the beginning of the show because there's a lot to talk about, including the non-cash-in for the fourth straight time. Okay,
so the beginning of these was the Usos and the Revival. And, you know, it was like, okay, actually from a technical wrestling standpoint, I wouldn't say they had in some, I guess technically they probably had the best match on the show. I didn't really think it was that good because it was rushed. I mean, they went right to the big spots, but their timing was perfect. I mean, like, you could really see how great these two teams are, but it wasn't a great match. It was an average match. And, you know, the finish was, let me see, I guess, Jimmy pinned Dash Wilder after a double super kick. So that was the nice warm-up match.
All right, so the opener on the actual show, Seth Rollins, Baron Corbin. Opener on the show. Seth has his ribs taped up, and Corbin went to work, and he squeezed him, and he worked him over, and Seth finally made a big comeback, went for the curb stomp. Corbin hit a deep six. Corbin got mad, went to get a chair. The ref said, dude, you can't use a chair, you'll get DQ'd. Corbin screamed at him. The ref screamed back. Seth schoolboyed him from behind, and the ref counted the pin. This was all done to set up a rematch, which is in fact taking place in Tacoma. I will be there for the epic rematch of Seth Rollins and Baron Corbin. What a rib on me. This would have been a depressing pay-per-view main event. It was, I guess, better than your average Raw match, but not much better.
This? Are you kidding?
Well, as far as, like, if they put this match on Raw, this was better than what you would have got on Raw.
No way.
You think that if Seth Rollins and Baron Corbin wrestled on Raw, it would be better than this?
A lot better. Are you kidding?
The same two guys?
They'd have a better crowd reaction. The guys wouldn't be jet lagged. It would be way better. This match wasn't good at all. This was.
Dude, we're gonna find out on pay-per-view.
Oh, they'll beat that on paper. This was the worst Seth Rollins singles match I can ever remember. I've never seen. I mean, I don't remember the last time Seth Rollins did a real match that I thought was 3 stars and under. When this thing was over, it's like, Baron Corbin's talented as hell, because I really think Seth Rollins could wrestle like almost anyone in the business. And just because he's so talented, he could get a 3-star match out of him, and he did not at all. It wasn't even close. This match was just there. It was boring. Seth doesn't have boring matches. I mean,
Baron Corbin has boring matches all the fucking time.
Baron Corbin has boring matches a lot, but I didn't think he could drag Seth down this much because Seth was trying to work. And I even think Baron Corbin was trying to work. It just didn't work. You know, and the crowd again, you know, it's a tough crowd. It was a bad crowd. But still, I mean, it was a boring match. I mean, granted, compared to the rest of the show, I guess if you rated on a curve, compared to the rest of the show, it was actually one of the better matches, but it frickin', you know, it wasn't good at all.
So Brock's music hit as promised afterwards. He starts coming down to the ring. Paul goes to get in the ring. He trips. He drops the briefcase. Seth gives Brock a low blow, grabs a chair that Brock brought down, beats the hell out of him, begs him to cash in, gives him a curb stomp on the briefcase, and leaves.
He even jacked up Brock's elbow something fierce with one of those chair shots.
So that's 4 times now, everybody. 4 times now.
Yeah. They've burned that out. Something fierce.
And you know what? I did think, I actually gave them the benefit of the doubt. I thought, you know what? Maybe he'll cash in on Kofi. And they actually will really give it to you like they promised. But I was wrong. This was the last we saw of Brock. He was never seen again.
Did you see the Dana stuff and everything with Brock?
We talked about how he got a better offer from WWE, and that's why he's not coming in.
I mean, it's not untrue, but it was, you know, again, Brock went to them and he said, this is my offer for Cormier. They saw the number. It's not a number that made sense to them given the market right now. I mean, the number would have. I was thinking like before they switched pay-per-views, would this number make sense? And it was touch and go. I mean, it was higher than they would have liked had they done the match with the number of made sense. And it's not a lock. I think it would have, but it's not a lock. I mean, it was a lot of money, but under today's circumstances, would that number make sense? And the answer is no, because things have changed. And so they made the right decision. But that's not, he got a great number. I mean, he did get a great number from Vince, but he could always take the money from Vince and still do the one match. It's because, they don't, whatever. He doesn't want to say he got, Brock wanted a certain number and they didn't want it. And then he said he was retired. And, I mean, I guess you could say that. I mean, it's what he used to say with George, when George asked for a lot of money. George is retired. George doesn't want to fight. And then, eventually, the fact is George did want to fight, but he wanted to get paid a lot of money to fight. And, eventually George fought. But, yeah, I don't know. Dana, I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of Dana stuff. But his explanation of I think Aaron Bronster asked him about why they cut was Justin Willis and Elias Theodoro. And it was mainly Elias Theodoro. And Dana's answer was like, because Elias Theodoro had like a really good record. I have no idea why he was cut. At least like when they cut John Fitch years ago, I knew exactly why. Even though Dana said it was because of, his price was too high, which was complete bullshit. I mean, but in this case, I have no idea why they cut him. But he's out there doing this speech about how we only want guys who, okay, this guy's good and he's won most of his matches in UFC, but, we need to keep this roster filled because we only want guys who have potential to be top 5 in the division. And it's like, what the fuck? It's like 90% of your roster will never be top 5, or 85% will never be top 5, and they'll never be top 5. What is he talking about? I don't understand him, but that's another issue. I actually need to watch more of that. I know he did a long interview, and people are going like, you gotta talk about that interview that he did. But the only thing I saw was the Brock stuff and the Elias stuff, so I have to watch more of that, I guess, after the show and figure it out. But it was amazing, listening to that. I mean, Dana's I don't know. I feel like he's. I guess, I don't know. It's like I stopped paying attention to him years ago anyway, but it just feels like, I don't say he's checked out, but it's this, that was some pretty bad explaining there.
Finn Balor and Andrade for the Intercontinental title. They worked their asses off, but this crowd was dead silent. They were even dead silent during the near falls of the finish. Andrade went for his double moonsault. Finn got the knees up. They sort of messed that one up. Balor hit the double foot stomp to the back of the head. Andrade kicked out. Still a dead crowd. And then Balor ended up hitting a top rope, 1916, double foot stomp, got the pin. This was the definition of a match that would have been much better in front of a different crowd.
Absolutely. This would have been a good match elsewhere. You know what? It was still a good match. But yeah, I think it would have been a little better elsewhere. No Zelina Vega, of course. And Finn Balor was the demon. I don't know what the difference was in the sense of, he got the entrance that did it really matter with that crowd? It was painted up. He worked hard on Andrade. They worked hard, but when this, as far as the story, where it leads, it was just a match. It was but yeah, it was the only thing on the show where I would say it felt like this could have been a good match somewhere else.
Shane and Roman Reigns.
This sucked.
Okay, so Drew is out there with Shane, and he immediately distracts Roman, and Shane goes to work. And Shane beat on him, and he beat on him, and he beat on him, and he beat on him, and he's profusely sweating. and he beats on him. He puts him in a triangle. Reigns power bombs away.
Okay, so that triangle, because I was watching that triangle. Oh, God. I swear you could probably teach me in a week. Maybe 2 weeks.
A week?
An hour?
Dude, give me 10 minutes. I can teach you a better triangle. I really? Promise you.
Really? I'm not so sure.
I absolutely promise.
I'm not sure 10 minutes, but
I promise you.
I think a week of hard training, and I could do that smoother than that. And I just, as soon as I thought, it's like, come on, this is like your finishing move, and I know it sucks, but come on, it's not that hard. I mean, on a willing opponent, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm not saying do it for real, but I'm just saying, just put it on. It looked so bad.
So he power bombs his way free, and Shane cuts him off again, and he beats on him, and he beats on him.
The power bomb was really good, by the way. That's one good thing I could say about the match. That was a cool looking power bomb. He did it like all lower back, not even like with his upper body helping.
Roman sets over the spear. Shane kicks him. Roman punches him. Shane bonks into the ref. Ref is distracted. Drew flies in with a claymore. Shane pins him. Shane McMahon took 95% of this match and won in the end over Roman Reigns, this 49-year-old dude who sucks in the ring.
Unreal.
I could not even believe this. Like, I watched this during Observer Live with no sound, and I'm kind of I'm doing the show and I'm sort of watching it, and when it was over, I was like, did Roman Reigns do one move in this match? And I went back and watched it. And in fact,
he did a few. He
did like 5 moves. Okay,
yeah,
but in this entire match, Shane, from start to finish, dominated this match and then beat the dude. And this is supposed to make me care about Roman Reigns versus Drew McIntyre at the pay-per-view. Are you kidding me?
Anything. It's like I was watching this, and it's like never like he's their top guy, for better or for worse. In their minds, he's their top guy, and it's almost like, okay, he needs help anyway, because he's not the kind of top guy that. Look, he'll never be that legendary top guy. I mean, 10 years from now, they'll tell you that he was, and all that he was, the greatest of all time, and he was the living legend and all those things. 10 years from now, they'll tell you that he was, but he's not. He's not. I mean, there's legends, and then there's guys that are on top. I don't even think he's as much of a top guy as Brett was, who was, in their minds, just a transition guy between top guys, and just kind of like their default top guy, as opposed to like a real top guy they believed in, or Shawn. Shawn was bad. That was just a bad situation and everything. I mean, Shawn obviously had super talent, as did Brett, compared to Roman, who's got talent as well. But the whole deal here, it's like, how do you book the top guy like this? This is just incompetence. Like you said, like, if he would have, like, beat him, but no. He should not have lost this match under any circumstances. If Shane should have not have had that much offense under any circumstance either. Shane could get some heat spot because of Drew's distraction and things like that. But Roman still, I mean, the idea is that Roman never gets to him, that, you're all frustrated because Roman can kick his ass, but somehow it didn't happen, so you want to see it again, and Shane still has his heat for Roman to get at later. But it's like, no, you don't put the guy like that in this match and have him lose. You just don't. It was just no top guy ever. I mean, I couldn't imagine you booking like Hulk Hogan or Bruno Sammartino or anything like this. I know that they once wanted to have Coachman beat Austin. They really did, by the way. But that was also long after Austin was like a top guy. That wasn't during the Austin Prime years. But Jesus Christ. Yeah, this was bad booking, and there's more. Look, I tell you what, when that Seth Rollins and Baron Corbin match was over, it's like, did that make you... There's nothing there that made you want to see a rematch. Okay, they gave you that little out because the referee got involved in the finish. So that was the mentality. Well, we gave you the out, so now we get to do a rematch. But it's like, yeah, but to set up a rematch, you want an exciting match. And that was anything but. So it's like they're setting up from this, and there's more later, but Baron Corbin against Seth Rollins for the title, which after today I would never want to see again. I mean, I didn't really want to anyway, but this made it worse, not better. Then they want to do Roman Reigns and Drew, which we already saw at WrestleMania, and all they've done to set that up is tell me that Roman Reigns is not a top guy anymore, and Drew is Drew, and it's okay. I mean, yeah, it's okay to do that match, but God, they booked Roman so freaking stupidly, and that's all I can say. And it's not the end of the stupid booking.
Now, that brings us to Lars Sullivan against the Lucha House Party. So it is now official with his first official match. They have taken away his NXT ring entrance, which was a great part of the act. He just walks down the ramp, kills these dudes, crowd is totally dead, gets his mouth busted open in a Kalisto match for the second time. Lucha House Party
last time it was his head. This was his mouth.
Lucha House Party makes a comeback. They're running wild on Lars. Lars kills him. This is still going on. All three guys attack Lars, and the ref calls for the bell.
I couldn't believe it.
A DQ in a 3-on-1 match for a 3-on-1 attack. I couldn't even make this up if I tried.
This is seriously, of all the stuff that was on the show, this to me was the worst. I mean, because with Undertaker and Goldberg, it's like shit happens, and it's there were that was a different thing. This, as far as what you're sitting down in a room and planning this out on paper, and you're making your production meeting and everything like that, and you're going like Shane's going to beat Roman Reigns, and it's like, are you fucking kidding me? But then I'm sure everyone's going to go, well, it's the boss's son, and let's we're gonna obviously it's like you pick your spots for a fight, right? But this one, it's like, okay, you got two choices here. And someone should have said this to Vince. It's like, okay, we got two choices here. If we just don't see anything in this guy, or we're just mad at this guy and all this, cut him, send him to NXT, even beat him, and then take him off television. If we really don't want him, okay, we probably should have made that decision a couple weeks ago. We probably should have figured this out before we brought him up. Either he's going to be a superstar and we're going to book him that way, or it's send him back to NXT and get him more experience and then bring him up later when he's even better. Or you want to do something with this guy like you did when he was going to beat John Cena at WrestleMania. And if that's the case, I mean, I didn't know the finish, obviously, of this match. But I knew this was fucked up when I saw that they broke 2 minutes. It's like, what? He needs to beat these guys in less than 2 minutes because, number one, he doesn't need to sell because it's not helping him to sell at this point in the game. But he was selling a lot. So it's like, oh, God. It's like they're 50-50ing him without even knowing what they're doing. Even though he's going to win, they're weakening him because all wins are not created equal. And then they do a freaking DQ finish, and then those guys chase him out of the ring, and yeah, he got a little bit back because he beat them all up after the match.
Let's not downplay this. This match went like 6 minutes. It goes to a disqualification. A 3-on-1 attack and a 3-on-1 match is DQ. They triple team the guy afterwards. They're beating the hell out of him. They go to leave. They're on the ramp. He makes his own comeback, and he goes and he destroys them again. And at that point, I'm furious because it's like, well, fuck, what the hell did you have them do anything to this guy for then?
Exactly.
Like, if you're just going to have him beat him up afterwards, like, why did I have to sit through him selling for these guys and these guys beating him up and then he just beats him up again anyway? I'm just baffled.
No, but here's the other thing, too. In that match, it was a little over 5 minutes. In that match, he didn't do, like, you have to set up in this situation. Number one, it should have been a 2-minute match. And the other thing is there should have been one spot, and he could certainly do it, you just figure out how it is, where he picks up at least two of the guys at the same time and slams them. Or does some power move where you go ooh and ah with two of the guys. I don't know you could do all three. That might be difficult. But I'll bet you that somebody there in that company could come up with a move, and he's strong enough to where he can support those three guys. They're not that big. And just do one thing, because he's a really strong guy. So do a power move. The power moves are half gimmick anyway, but people don't know it. So have them do a freaking power move in some form that looks impressive. They didn't even do that. It's like they didn't even come up with a creative spot for him. He's just in there selling. Selling for these. He shouldn't have sold. He should have sold one thing for these guys. Maybe like they do a triple drop kick and he steps backwards. And that's it. The one little show of vulnerability. That's it. This is the guy's in his first match. God, could you imagine like you bring like Kamala into a territory and this is his first match? You know what I mean? It's like freaking, why? This one, like, watching this just upset me because it's like, it's not like I'm emotionally invested in if he does well or doesn't do well, but I am emotionally invested in the idea that, you know, you got embarrassed for him and you didn't want to fire him and you really saw money in him and you fined him so much money that now it's like, it's going to take him a lot longer to pay this money back considering where he's going to be on these cards and how over he is, you know, because he's just a guy now. And it's like a guy who looks like that either needs to be a star. You know, he should never be just a guy, let alone, I mean, maybe in 2 years, he's going to end up being just a guy because maybe he doesn't make it, maybe. But you're pretty much assuring yourself of it now. This was the worst booking, you know. I mean, I guess the Roman Reigns booking's close, but I think this was even worse than the Roman Reigns booking. This is just mind-boggling. But it's you know, the Roman Reigns, like I said, with Roman Reigns, I could see in a production meeting sitting there. If I'm in this production meeting and they're going through this, and it's like I'm biting my teeth and going like, okay, I want to scream. This is completely stupid, but it's the boss's son, and you got to save your fights. But with Lars, I can't imagine that. I mean, even if nobody likes the guy, and I don't know if that's the case, shouldn't somebody go in there and just go, Vince, either we're going to go with him or we're not. And if we're not, fucking beat him. Just beat him. And if we're going to go with him, have him just destroy these guys in 2 minutes. There's only two alternatives here. No, we're going to have him do a DQ for no ungodly reason. We're going to have him go 5 minutes to, you know, expose that he's not a monster. We're not going to have him do no monster moves in the match to get him over. And then we're going to have him beat up all three guys after the match in totally uninspiring form. You know, like, and I'm sure they're sitting there going like, you know, like in 2 weeks, they're going to sit there and go like, when he comes out, it's like, God, why aren't people treating him like he's a monster? You know, look at how he looks and he's so big and he's got these giant legs and he's all this and that. It's like, because you booked him, you scripted him like some moron, absolute moron scripted that Tuesday interview. And then you come back with, they're probably blaming him for that interview and said, we gotta hold back. He didn't do so good on the interview. So there isn't a guy alive except for like Dusty Rhodes or Samoa Joe who could have, you know, or someone like that who could have pulled off that script and made it work. That's not on him. Anyway, that's my Lars Sullivan rant. I'm like, they're just freaking, you know, this is really like, this is like, again, this is incompetence. This isn't just like, okay, it's a little bit, the old Vince, come on. Like you said, Vince is behind the time. The old Vince, the one thing the old Vince knew how to do was freaking build up monsters for Hulk Hogan and for Andre the Giant and for everyone. He knew how to do that. How do you forget? Like, it's like a guy, seriously, this is a guy who forgot how to ride a bike. It's not like he's 73 years old and his knees are shot and he can't ride a bike. He forgot how. And he's been riding a bike for 50 years. You know, it's like forgetting how to type or something. You know what I mean? It's like, this is like, he's just completely, and again, he's in a room with God knows how many people. I know all those 40 writers. I know that probably 36 of them or 30 of them or whatever have no grasp of booking monsters in wrestling or anything like that. But goddamn, I know that there's a bunch that do. And, you know, I don't know what happened in that room, but my God, it was horrible. It's horrible that it went through. That's all I can say.
There with this Triple H Randy Orton match, 25 minutes. They just wrestled and wrestled. The crowd's dead. They did get into it there near the end.
Well, they got into it when you kicked out of near falls because enough of them were wrestling fans who thought the RKO was cool and the pedigree was cool and they got to see it, and then the guys kicked out. So that worked in the match, was the kicking out of the finishes.
It was not a terrible match, but like it was boring.
It was boring as shit.
And
okay, so here's the thing with this match, and about I'm trying to think when I first had this thought because it was early, and then the match ended up going much longer. But it was like 12 minutes in, I think. And this match is really boring. I mean, I was bored, by about the 5-6 minute mark. That it's just, there's no heat and they're going really slow, but it's like, it's okay. I mean, technically, it's not like technically there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the wrong match for this crowd. So at first it's like, okay, we don't got no, God, I mean, Paul Levesque's great and everything, but it's this, it's like, you got to know how to, I don't want to like get mad because the guy's really, really smart and all. And Randy Orton's a fantastic wrestler, but to me, like a master wrestler is like Ric Flair or Terry Funk. And they would have adapted, even though Ric Flair's not super versatile. Ric Flair went to that show in Korea where nobody could get heat. Nobody could. No, it was a crowd like this, maybe even worse because they knew nothing about wrestling, whereas this crowd had, a percentage of these people at least were fans. Most of them weren't, but a percentage were. And like when Ric Flair went to Korea, he got like the whole crowd going. I remember like Scott Norton went up to him afterwards and goes, "How did you do this?" And he just kind of goes, "Well, I've been doing it a long time. I know what I'm doing." Like they didn't adapt. They didn't change. It wasn't working. At some point you'd go in there and I know it's a pay-per-view and everything's timed out. And my God, why would you do 25 and a half minutes for this match anyway, especially here? But it's not the worst decision in the world. I mean, it was bad, but anyway, like at the 12-minute mark, I'm sitting there going like, these guys are, both of them, are the reverse Kento Miyahara. Because Kento Miyahara is this guy who will do these 30-minute matches, and when it's over, you go, there's no frickin' way. That match had to go 15 minutes because he's so good at pacing. I mean, he's absolutely incredible at it. I've never seen anyone like him, and it's every time I see him because he's always doing these 25 to 30-minute matches, and they really are. But it's like, wait a minute, this only feels like 15 minutes. How does he, Anyway, they're the difference because this 25 minutes, I swear to God, in my mind, it's like this is longer than a 90-minute draw. This match would never end, and it ended, and Randy Orton won, and whatever, whoever won's fine. If Triple H would have won, that's fine too. But it was just really, it was too long and it was boring. And the crowd wasn't into it. And, the only thing that worked was kicking out of each other's finishers, which did work. And, the last 2 minutes or so, they kind of got the crowd into it.
Wait, clips of Jinder winning the title from Truth, and then Truth beating him on an airplane. At this point in the show, I just could not handle this. Corbin complained about the finish of the match. And I swear to God, in Saudi Arabia, he said, heads are going to roll.
Can you imagine?
I can't imagine. If Stephanie had not made a dismemberment joke, I might say, maybe it was just a poor choice of words and didn't think about it. But after she made that comment, there's absolutely no way this was a coincidence.
Yeah, maybe they were mad about the women, and it's their way of getting back. I don't know, but whatever. I mean, it was a pretty bad line. But like at this point, are you really? Did Baron Corbin's interview make you really excited and want a rematch with Seth?
Hell no! Are you kidding me?
Oh my God! Can you imagine? I can't wait until the pay-per-view buys come out for these next two pay-per-views. I mean, granted, I know it's mostly network, but these numbers have got to be like atrocious.
Braun versus Lashley. They did a test of strength. Braun did his corner-to-corner run. He's so slow now.
Yep.
Lashley hit a power slam for a near fall. We had a chin lock here in this 8-minute match. And Braun ran him over outside. Strowman hit a power slam. Lashley kicked out. There was a suplex on the ramp. And then Braun power slammed him a second time. Got the pin. I mean, just a nothing match. A nothing match.
It wasn't... let me just see what I wrote for this. I didn't really have a problem with it. It's like this. Yeah. I mean... That's, I guess, the right way to put it. It was a below-average match, but not terribly below average. It didn't suck or anything. It's just, like if this match was on Raw, I would probably say it kind of sucked. But on this show, again, grading on a curve, it was just there.
Next up, we had the Kofi Kingston Dolph Ziggler match, which was a SmackDown match. Fans were mildly into it. Ziggler hit an SOS for a near fall. Kofi hit his trust fall off the post, and Dolph barely caught him. He landed right on his ass. It looked brutal. And Dolph laid out Xavier with a super kick, and so Xavier gave Dolph a kick behind the ref's back. Kofi had the Trouble in Paradise and pinned him. And this led to, of all things, Dolph Ziggler complains about outside interference, and he has demanded a cage match at the pay-per-view.
Yeah, because you know how cage matches have been of late. Remember that last cage match we just had? Like, when was it? Like the very last pay-per-view before this, right? We had The Miz and Shane McMahon.
Yeah.
This is another thing. Now here's another problem. Okay, aside from the incompetence in the booking, one of the signs of a company that's lost it, and I've seen it over and over again, is when you have no ideas, you don't have any, you're running out of steam, you can't figure out what'll draw, so you start going with cage matches all the time or gimmick matches all the time, and that's again in and of itself. So there's a cage match on the next show, and there was one on the last show, but it's the thing where it's like this is trouble now. Because it really shows that, I know Vince lost his confidence because of some of the moves he's made in the last couple months that the old Vince wouldn't have made. Which is basically like listening to the crowd, which we'd never do under previous circumstances on certain situations. But yeah, just, again, you have a match. When this match was over, this match was okay. It really wasn't, it was quite the nice attempt at a match with a tough crowd. It wasn't good, but it was okay. But when it was over and Kingston beats him, it's like, I'm done. It wasn't any kind of controversy enough. And now you want to do a cage match and have it main event your next pay-per-view? It's like, come up with a better finish, please.
Yeah. That means Stomping Grounds is either going to be main evented by Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin, or Dolph Ziggler versus Kofi Kingston in a cage.
And then the other big one's Roman Reigns.
Neither of these are main events.
And the other one's Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre and
for nothing. You can't headline. You could headline with that, but there's nothing on the line. It's just a match.
No, and then we get two other ones. And so then we got the other two. So we got Bayley and Alexa Bliss, which, whatever. It's a match. And the other one is Becky Lynch against
Wait, Bayley
Lacey.
and Alexa, they announced for SmackDown.
No, that's on the next pay. That's on the next pay-per-view.
I could have sworn they said it's
No. It was advertised today. They advertised in the show, and they said it before. No, Bayley and Alexa Bliss is on the Stomping Ground pay-per-view. It's the first match announced for it. And then the other one is Lacey Evans and Becky Lynch, which, okay, Lacey Evans, after that performance with Charlotte, and I know that, that was a bad night for both of them. And it won't be, I'm sure their match won't be anything like that. But that should have been a sign that we got to get Lacey Evans some reps on the road. Get Lacey Evans some 12-minute matches on house shows for a couple months. But instead, we're going to put her in a pay-per-view championship match against the most over person in our roster, who's hanging by a thread because ever since Ronda left, hasn't had an opponent. And we just saw Charlotte, who's better than Becky, have an incredibly terrible match with her. And now we're going to put Becky in that situation. At least, I know that there's...
Dude, we've seen that match.
I know, and it wasn't good.
I don't need to see it again. Did they forget they did that match? They're acting like this is a first-time encounter.
Yeah. No, they just did it on the last pay-per-view. And they would have done it on this pay-per-view probably if they were allowed to. But... yeah, they don't have any other women that they've been pushing. So, it was probably... Nia can't come back fast enough in their minds, I'm guessing. But that's a scary thought, too.
All right, Battle Royal. The participants.
I didn't even know who the participants were. There were a whole bunch of guys there.
I got them here for you. Akam, Akira Tozawa, Ali, Apollo Crews, Bo Dallas, Brian Kendrick, Buddy Murphy, Cedric Alexander, Cesaro, Chad Gable, Kurt Hawkins, Curtis Axel.
Okay. So I thought that Chad Gable was in the witness protection program.
Well, he was here.
Okay.
Dash Wilder, Drew Gulak, Eric Young.
Oh, okay. So Drew Gulak was in there that I never noticed.
Yep. Rowan, Heath Slater, Humberto Carrillo,
Right,
Ivor.
Okay, so Ivar.
Ivor.
Okay. Ivar. But anyway, so Humberto Carrillo. So I didn't know he was in. And then I sort of was glancing at one point, and there's Humberto Carrillo. Then he gets thrown out. And Renee Young starts talking about, what a good-looking guy. And it's like, the guy just got eliminated, and this is what you come up with? What a good-looking guy. I just thought, like,
Usos, Jinder Mahal, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, Matt Hardy, Mike Kanellis, Mojo Rawley, No Way Jose, Oni Lorcan.
Okay, so Mike Kanellis, I don't even remember ever being there. But I guess that's
Otis, Razor, Ricochet, Robert Roode, Rusev, Samir Singh, Samoa Joe, Scott Dawson, Shelton Benjamin, Shinsuke Nakamura, Sin Cara, Sunil Singh, Miz, Titus O'Neil, Tony Nese, Tucker, Xavier Woods, Zack Ryder, and your winner,
Mansoor. Okay, so I actually did, except for Mike Kanellis, I think I did figure out who everybody was. Not that, whatever. So they try to, they almost, so
This was an ungodly, horrible battle royal. There's 50 dudes in a 20 by 20 ring. They immediately start throwing people out, but not quick enough.
Okay, so I didn't think there was any worse or better than the other battle royal. It was just kind of there. I mean, at the beginning the ring's crowded, nobody could do anything. And actually, for a long time,
5 minutes when you just were watching bodies in the ring and you didn't know what the hell was going on.
I didn't know what was going on. I'm just watching this, going what the?
This was a bad battle royal.
Guys are flying out left and right. They're not even identifying guys when they get eliminated. Sometimes they're on the screen and getting eliminated, and they go, "Hey, there's Bo Dallas, actually it was Curtis Axel, I think, right? Didn't he go, Curtis Axel's eliminated, say it. There's Carl Anderson falling on the floor. There's Gallows, and then, about a minute later, Luke Gallows has been eliminated. So, they're having trouble keeping up, which is probably tough, all things considered. They probably should have told the announcers, the order of elimination, just so when guys flew out there,
oh, God. They can't possibly have had a scripted order of elimination.
No, they have.
Everybody get the hell out of here quick.
Yeah, well, they did. And I mean, the thing with this battle royal is that there was no, compared to, the AEW battle royal had its flaws for sure. Okay. But it was a million times better than this because, number one, there were showcase spots for all kinds of guys in that battle royal. Everyone got their, I won't say everyone, but the key people who they were pushing got showcase spots. Nobody got a showcase spot here except for Mansoor by winning. Everyone was just kind of there. A couple of times Ali, I guess, would get these spots where he's hanging on, a couple other guys, and then get back in. But essentially, it's just nothing. Just nothing's going on, and then someone gets thrown out, and it just keeps going. And did they even tell you that Mansoor's even in the ring until about it was nearly over?
Dude, it wasn't until there were 6 guys left, and the final 6 are Mansoor, Samoa Joe, Ali, Drifter, Cesaro, and Ricochet. Ali and Mansoor toss Joe. Cesaro tossed Ali and Ricochet. Mansoor tossed Cesaro, so it's down to Mansoor and the Drifter.
And he had to win.
Mansoor backdropped him over the top and won. Fans did go crazy. They were legitimately happy for this, jumping up and down.
They went nuts. This was great for the home crowd. It makes so here's the thing. Okay, it's great for the home crowd, and I guess why not? But so is he now going to be on the main roster?
Are you kidding me? Of course not.
So, I mean, I guess
they just did something for the hometown crowd.
Well,
which good for them. Usually they bury guys in their hometown.
Yeah, I mean, why not? It's like whoever won wasn't going to matter anyway, and they made the crowd pop live, and everyone else watching all over the world is going to go, whatever. But they're getting paid. It kept the Sheik happy. It's like if he was a wrestling fan and he watched the show, I would think that, between that and whatever it was that made them turn down those women, it's like you can say what you want, but this relationship cannot be solid right now. Because that was an embarrassment. I mean, the show was an embarrassment. That's a different kind of embarrassment. But they bring those women over there and then nix them. There's some communication problem that's not good there. But it's tons and tons and tons of money, and that's the whole key to this whole thing. So, yeah, like kiss their ass and have Mansoor go over and they'll all be happy. And it was, it was good for the crowd. It's not, just for storyline wise, it's just kind of, but look, I'm long past, cohesive storylines. I mean, we're long past like that's, I'll worry about that with AEW and with New Japan Pro Wrestling, when they don't have cohesive storylines. Here, that's just par for the course.
And then we had the Undertaker Goldberg main event, and that was your show. The show sucked on so many levels. I mean, the crowds, they were nowhere near full, and I'm sure that's with giving away tons and tons of tickets. It felt like, there were very clearly a percentage of people, because you could hear like, this is awesome chants. There was even a CM Punk chant in the Shane McMahon match, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. But these are all light chants. There was no big chants the whole night. But you could tell that there are people who, whether it's through the internet or whatever, that, have working knowledge of the company and some who are like really big fans. So they were there, but you could also tell based on the chants and everything that they were a very minor percentage of those there, that it was just people there and, whatever. They were just there, to fill up, half, whatever it was, half fill up or 3/4 fill up a stadium. From what I've heard, I know there were people who went there who had a good time, for whatever, but from the people that, have been in contact with me, the general rule, I know one person told me they had a good time and they were happy. And a couple of others were just like, this really sucked. Nobody, basically most of the people knew they shouldn't have gone, but they didn't, how Kevin Owens did it, and that actually was brought up to me. It's like how Kevin Owens did it shocked them. Because one thing, Daniel Bryan's a top guy and they already let him get away with it once. And, he's still like, he's one of the highest paid guys there. And, Aleister Black and Sami Zayn were their calls. That was the company's calls. That wasn't their call. So they didn't go. But Kevin Owens was his call. And he's a high guy. But, people didn't think that a guy like Kevin Owens could do that. And he did. But, whatever. Most guys don't want to rock the boat. Some guys wanted to go, but I heard most didn't think they should go. It was an awfully long trip. One person told me that if it's up to him, he would never go back again, but it's not up to him, so it doesn't matter. And others were just like, it sucked. There were people who very much understood that the booking was horrible throughout so much of the show. There was, for the guys in the Battle Royal, it was like, very much going through the motions because the whole thing was just thrown together and there was no, like I said, there was no showcase spots or anything like that. So people there were in, kind of not a great mood that you're flying in there for this match that can't be good. It's because there's no thoughts put into it and you're just kind of there as a piece of meat. And, I'll probably hear more, I think I heard when, was they stop in Brussels or somewhere? I don't know, somewhere like on the way back. There was some city they stopped in on the way back because that's when I started getting texts. It's like all at the same time. And they're not home yet. They're going to end up, where they're going to Fresno and Stockton. I almost want to go to Stockton Sunday. I'm not going to, but I almost want to just to kind of like, I don't know, see the jet lag guys and everything like that, but they'll probably be so happy that they're not there and they, whatever. But anyway, so they're actually working Sunday. They're not getting, they're flying straight into California and then Raw's in San Jose on Monday night. So, of all places. So, that's basically the WWE story. I'm sure we'll hear a lot in the next 36 to 48 hours about this trip. All right, before we go, we got UFC and New Japan tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'm mentally going with the idea I'm watching New Japan as soon as I wake up Sunday morning. I'm not going to stay up, even though it is Dominion. It's like 2 shows in a row is tough. UFC is a good show. It's a pay-per-view show. Angela Hill's fighting on the ESPN Plus prelims, so that she'll probably go in. There's 3 prelim fights. I know a lot of people don't know her, but she's good. The ESPN at 8, Calvin Kattar and Ricardo Lamas, 2 good fighters. This should be a really good fight. Alexa Grasso and Karolina Kowalkiewicz, which should be really good. Pedro Munoz and Aljamain Sterling should be great. I mean, that's a great matchup. The winner of this could be in line for a title match. If Grasso or Kowalkiewicz, they're both a little bit too low. I mean, they're not going to be winner's not going to be in a title match situation. Qatar could get pretty decent in the featherweights if he can beat Lamas, and he might. Munoz and Sterling's a fight I'm looking forward to. Nina Ansaroff and Tatiana Suarez. Suarez with a win, I think, should get a championship match at Jessica Andrade. And Ansaroff is coming off of a big win. Suarez is undefeated. Great wrestler, marketable as hell. I don't know why they haven't done more with her. I remember she won Ultimate Fighter, and then I saw her first fight. I was at her first fight, and she did a promo afterwards at the press conference, and it was just like, it's like, I remember the first time I saw Chael Sonnen talk, and I'm not comparing her to Chael Sonnen. She's nothing like Chael Sonnen in any way, shape, or form. But I remember Chael Sonnen was just a name to me, and then I was at a show with Chael Sonnen, and he started doing a promo, and it's like, oh my fucking God. This guy's a superstar. He's an incredible talker. So she is not Chael Sonnen, but she is, as soon as I saw her, I go, this woman, and she's a dominant wrestler. She's a great wrestler, almost made the Olympic team. In fact, her story is fantastic. She's got a great story. Tatiana Suarez was favored to make the Olympic team, and she got cancer, and that was it. She couldn't. And then she was done with sports. And then, she recovered, and she, down the line, just kind of started trying to do something for training, and she took up MMA. And because of her wrestling, and, she got real good at it, and she's undefeated. And she's looked good in her last, and, in every fight she's had some injuries and everything like that. But, I mean, as soon as I saw her, it's like, this is somebody to watch. And if she can win this fight, she could get a championship fight. And I just think between her story, she's a great talker. She's good looking. I mean, she's got real star qualities here. Then we got the pay-per-view, Blagoy Ivanov and Tai Tuivasa. I always get a kick out of Tai Tuivasa. I think he reminds me of Toa Henare in New Japan. I think because they're both Maoris from New Zealand, I think, or Samoans, whatever. And they're really colorful, and they got they just got that fire and everything. So Tuivasa usually has some really cool knockouts. So I think this should be good. Jimmy Rivera, Peter Yan. We're going to find out about Peter Yan. Peter Yan has impressed me every time I've seen him, but Jimmy Rivera is a hell of a fighter. Just right underneath championship level. So Peter Yan wins, he's right up there. The next fight could be an all-time classic if they're both at their best, which is Tony Ferguson against Donald Cerrone. It's absolutely criminal that Donald Cerrone is fighting on this fight after a 5-round fight just a couple of weeks ago. No time to heal. 36 years old, I think. And, I mean, Cerrone's at his popularity peak right now. People love him. He's had the kid. They've watched him for a decade, more than a decade, having great fights, fight of the night over and over again, best knockout, best submission. He's got the all-time record for bonuses in history. He's got the all-time record for wins in history. He's a freaking Hall of Fame guy who's got charisma, and he's at his popularity peak right now. And they're rushing him back. Ferguson, I don't know what to say. Tony Ferguson is one of the most exciting fighters there is. He also went through some really bad mental shit. And I don't know, I don't know where he's at. If he is the old Tony Ferguson against a healthy, rested Donald Cerrone, this fight would be unreal. And it may still be, but we've got a question mark in Ferguson. And again, when you have a fight like Cerrone had with Iaquinta, even though he won the fight, he took damage. It was a 5-round fight. And just the training for a 5-round fight, you're at 36 years old, you need a rest. And you need a rest to heal up, and then you need to go back at it. You don't need to be come back 5 weeks later. It's like, are they trying to... This is like really... this is like booking where you can really see that they don't care about their fighters, because there's not a lot of... Even if you're like completely cold and all this, and they're just numbers on a piece of paper, which very clearly in almost every case with these UFC fighters, that's what they are. There are some guys where you're going to take care of them because they're stars, and you treat them like stars. And Cerrone would be very high in that list because, again, he's one of the most popular fighters on the roster. And when I saw that they're putting him right back 5 weeks at his age after that fight, after that camp, I know Cerrone wants it because he's just looking for as much money as he can in a shorter period of time as possible. He loves to fight. But, sometimes when you're running the company, you have to make decisions. And, yeah, this is a great fight, and the fans are going to like it and all that. On paper, they're going to look, and if you're like one of those guys who looks at the card and goes like, I'm going to skip a lot of them and maybe only watch the big ones. And you look at this and you look at the two main events and you go, this is a skipper. And then you see Cerrone against Ferguson. It's kind of like, I don't know if I want to miss this fight because this could be special. And it could be. So anyway, I just wish it was 2 months later and Cerrone was where I knew Cerrone was going to be at his best. Because again, if this fight is not great, if Cerrone gets blown out, and the fight's not great, it's, again, Cerrone's being as hot as he is, they've just wasted it. This is really, and they've done this before, but this is really short-sighted, really short-sighted. Valentina Shevchenko and Jessica Ai for the flyweight title. Valentina Shevchenko is one of the best women fighters, regardless of weight, in this business. She is great. I think she's going to be a dominant champion. I think Jessica Ai's in her league, and I think that she should kickbox her way to win. But it should be fine. And then Henry Cejudo and Marlon Moraes. So Marlon Moraes has had a lot of really quick wins. He's looked absolutely fantastic in most of his fights in UFC. The only one he didn't look fantastic in, which was the Sun Tzu, a fight that he then reversed and beat him later. This is for the vacant bantamweight title. And, Cejudo is coming off of a quick win over TJ Dillashaw, who's a great fighter. Before that, he beat Demetrius Johnson, who's an all-time great. He's on a roll. He's an Olympic gold medalist. He can strike. He can wrestle. I think that Moraes has the edge early on, but I think that if it goes any length of time, I think the edge switches to Cejudo. But it's a very intriguing fight that could be outstanding. This is probably, as far as a card goes, this is probably the one I'm looking forward to as much as almost anything all year. As far as marquee-wise, pay-per-view buys-wise, Cerrone and Ferguson may help it a lot. But, with the pay-per-view being the way it is, being on, the ESPN Plus and all that, it probably isn't going to do a big number. But, if you're a guy who does 2-3 shows a year, I'd go for this one. I think the ESPN fights, I think the ESPN 2 hours is going to be very entertaining, and the pay-per-view is up and down. It looks like a really fun pay-per-view card, so I'm looking forward to that. And then, of course, Dominion right after, which will be probably even better. Did you see the press conference with Jericho and Okada?
I have not.
Okay. It's Jericho's, Painmaker against Rainmaker. Jericho really put over that he's done everything in the business, but he's never won the IWGP title. And he really wants to win this championship. And it's going to be interesting. We had Kevin Kelly on last night. And, he really kind of brought up, this is an interesting match because even though Okada is extremely versatile, and the one thing with Okada is that like he's worked with, between Tanahashi and Suzuki and Jay White and Sonata and all of these guys that he's worked with, on this last run through. They're all so different, and he adapts, and he has, obviously, before that with Kenny Omega, he and God knows how many others, right? So he adapts. Kota Ibushi, is another one. Ospreay. He adapts to the guy. Always has a great match. I mean, when was the last time he didn't have a great match? I mean, when the chips are down. I mean, I think there was maybe one match with Evil that was just really good, but it wasn't great. And that's coming off of a match with Evil that was probably the one they had before, which was like the greatest match of Evil's life. So he's like Mr. Versatility, but he's never wrestled anyone like Jericho. I mean, Jericho's a different kind of guy. It's not going to be super submission guy. It's not going to be super athletic spots. It's not going to be super technical psychology, aura thing like with Tanahashi. This is going to be a brawl. Like, he hasn't had a real brawl. He's had fights with, like, Suzuki, but that's, like, a different kind of a fight than a Jericho fight. And Jericho's, again, it's an interesting new style. And Jericho has Jericho ever wrestled anybody like Okada in his whole life, even though he's wrestled everyone in the world? I'm trying to think. I mean, because who'd be, like, is there anyone he's ever wrestled like that? Because Omega and Okada are very different wrestlers.
Like a great worker?
Well, he's wrestled every great worker of the last 30 years.
What are we talking about here, like Okada?
Okada's a unique wrestler. He's wrestled every great worker in the world, from Shawn Michaels to Ric Flair to Kurt Angle to AJ Styles. Everyone but Tanahashi and Okada pretty much. But, and Ibushi, I guess. But Okada's, it's just different. It's, if you look at both guys and look at their track records, it's probably going to be a great match. But it's a different match for both of them. So it's intriguing to watch. Naito and Ibushi, they were at the press conference. That was actually just a couple of hours ago. And Ibushi even kind of was like, God, we've wrestled each other so many times. It's like, I think they both just want another opponent. But, the problem with these two is they will have a really good match, but it's a self-destructive match. I just hope that they don't go in that direction. But if you watch some of those old Naito and Ibushi matches, there's scary stuff in their match, and I'm sure there will be again. And then Will Ospreay and Dragon Lee, which, how can they possibly have a match that beats Wednesday? But they're going to try. And Dragon Lee is so talented, and Will Ospreay's the best in the world right now. So that's going to be great. Taichi and Ishii. It's like, you realize that, like, after the card we just saw, somebody even brought up this to me and goes, do you realize that Taichi is going to have twice the match of anything we saw? And he easily will. Because I've seen Taichi and Ishii wrestle, and Ishii, Ishii can get a great match out of anyone, including Taichi. So that's going to be a great match too. And then, Tama Tonga, Tangaloa, and Evil and Sonata, should be good. Evil and Sonata are a great, great team. Tama Tonga is a great wrestler. Tangaloa is okay. But Tama Tonga is he's a great wrestler. He's a great athlete, but he's also hit and miss in other ways. So, but like Tama Tonga in there with Sonata and Evil, like, it could be pretty good. This is not 100% sure thing. Like Will Ospreay and Dragon Lee is 100%. Naito and Ibushi is 99% because one of them can get hurt. So I say I'll go with 90% because if one of them gets hurt early, and I certainly could see that happening, they may not have a super match. Jericho and Okada probably will in some unique way figure it out, but it's just different. And then, Jon Moxley and Shota Umino as an opener. What a weird opener. And Kojima and Shingo Takagi. I think Kojima and Shingo Takagi is going to be great. I think that's going to be like the second match on the show, and it's going to be like, I think the people will be with it. And I just think, Takagi's been on such a roll, and Kojima, obviously old and past his prime, but he can still go. It's like, I kind of wish it was Nagata, just because, like, Nagata, if it was Nagata and Shingo, that would actually, like, seriously, like, be a candidate for the best match on the entire show good, whereas this one will just be really good. And it's the same basic thing. It's like you want, the gimmick is it's Shingo against a good older heavyweight that he can beat, where he gains something by beating on his way up, and whether it means going to G1, which I assume it does. That's the story. But you can put Nagata in the spot of Kojima, and you have the exact same story in a better match. So that's, Dominion, Dominion's been show of the year, or a candidate for show of the year last several years, and I would suspect that this will be the same.
All right, everybody, on that note, we're going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back with a bunch of shows, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all sorts of stuff to talk about, so check it out. Front page, New Observer, all sorts of great stuff. That's it. We'll talk to you again after a while.